Hi, I'm Deb, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Yoga Bites with Deb. Today we have a little hip practice just to open up those hips. I don't know about you, but my hips are chronically tight. So we're going to do some lizard lunge, some pigeon, just some regular lunge just to open things up. It might be helpful to use a block, or two actually, and I hope you join me in child's pose. Come into child's pose. Toes together, knees nice and wide apart, perhaps as wide as your mat. Sink the buttocks down and either lower your forehead to the mat or stack your fists and rest your forehead onto your hands. And just breathe, connect with your breath. As we inhale, we feel our belly expand. It might press into our thighs. We might feel that expansion through the back of the body. And exhale, just release. I'm going to lift your head up. I'm going to walk my hands over to the left side and extend my right arm on top of my left and then lean to the right side. And then we're going to take our hands and walk them over to the other side. Left hand on top of the right. Lean your hips to the left a little bit. And then we're going to walk ourselves back through center. Extend our arms way out, coming up onto our hands and knees first, and then extend those arms even further forward. So we're just going to come forward and sink the hips down, kind of like a variation on our up dog. And then we're just going to stretch all the way back. Draw that belly in as we come forward and sink the hips, and then shift back. Inhale forward, exhale back. And then we're just going to come up onto our hands and knees. So you might want blocks close by. Drawing that belly in. Let's extend the left leg out and make some circles. And then circle the other way. And then let's just bend the knee and flex the foot. So you could hold here with that belly drawn in, or we could add balance by lifting the right arm up, because I've got my left leg circled, or we could reach back and see if you can grab the foot and push the foot into the hands. So not everybody will be able to do that, and that's okay. And then we're going to release. We're going to swing this leg all the way forward in between your hands, and this is where your blocks might come in handy as we come into our low lunge. So sinking the hips down. And your hands will have somewhere to press into, and your spine can still lengthen. So we're sinking the hips down, feeling the stretch in the front of the hip on this right side as we just sink down. And then we're going to straighten that front leg and flex the foot and turn those toes up towards the ceiling here. And just tuck your chin in, or maybe you can bow your chest a little closer to your thighs as we stretch out the hamstring. And then we're going to lengthen up and bring yourself back to your hands and knees. Belly is drawn in. And then we're going to extend that right leg and come into some circles. And then circle the other way. And then extend the leg out, bend the knee. You can hold here, or with your belly drawn in, the left arm could lift up. Keep breathing, or we could reach back to grab for the foot and push the foot into the hands. From here, we can release and see if we can bring this right foot forward, maybe using our blocks, maybe it's just fingertips and you're lengthening up. Although if you have something underneath your hands, you can get that spine nice and lengthened, and then let those hips just sink down, opening them up. Just focus on your breath, and with each exhalation, just feel like you sink a little bit deeper. And then we start to straighten that front leg. Turn the toes up, flex the foot towards the ceiling, lengthen the spine, and simply tuck the chin in. Or if it's available, you could bow down a little bit closer to your thigh. Deepen the sensation, only if that feels right for your body right now. And then bend back into the knee, bring yourself back to hands and knees, curl the toes under, bellies in, knees lift up, push back, downward facing dog. So from here, let's lift that left leg up and let's take some more circles. And then reverse the direction. And then we want to see, can we stack our hips, our top hip over the bottom hip. So lift that knee up towards the ceiling. It's like you're trying to kick yourself in the butt with that left foot, stacking the left hip on top of the right and breathing. And then can we step this foot between our hands? Feel free to help it along any way you like. And again, we can use those blocks for a high lunge, come up a little higher. You might like to stay rooted, or bend that back knee and see if we can come up, stack ourselves up, raise our arms up. And then we're going to bring our hands into our lizard lunge. So bring your hands to the inside of your foot. Maybe take your blocks there, walk your foot over to the left side of the mat, and then lower the right knee down, uncurl the toes. And again, we can sink the hips down here, stretching the front of the hip first. And breathe using the blocks. We could use the blocks to lower onto our forearms. We could flex the toes and let the foot roll onto the baby toe side, only if your hip feels good that way. And some of you might not need these blocks. So making sure you're comfortable, there's no pain, especially in your knees. And you're welcome to stay in this lizard lunge, or we're going to come into our pigeon from here. So coming up onto your hands and knees, you want to heel toe your foot over to the right side. So left foot goes to the right. Flex those toes and then roll onto the baby toe side. Dropping the knee down, dropping that hip down. Now we don't want to lean on the hip. We still want to draw that right hip forward. So I'm pretty open. I'm able to keep my shin parallel to the top of the mat. You might need to bring your foot a little closer to the groin to make it a little bit more comfortable. So you do what feels right for you. No pain, absolutely no pain in the knee. If there's pain in the knee, then you don't want to do this pose. Stay in the lizard lunge or come into deer pose where you lean onto that left hip and bring the right knee forward, right knee up. And then you can come forward through here. So working where you feel the most comfortable. If we're here on our hands, we can stay here, or we could lower to our forearms. And we're really getting into those hips. We want to breathe, we want to soften. And then we're going to come up onto our hands, curling the back toe under. Let's step back to our downward facing dog again. Belly's in. Right leg's going to lift up, bend the knee. Let's make some circles. And then let's circle the other way. And then let's see if we can lift that knee up, stack the hips one on top of the other. Turn the knee up towards the ceiling. And then can we step our foot between our hands and come into our high lunge, maybe with our blocks, or maybe bend the back knee and come up to balance, maybe a little better than I just did. And then from here, we could come into our lizard lunge. Hands on the inside, walk the foot to the right side of the mat, lower the left knee down, uncurl the toes. So remember, we can stay here with blocks we can use to lift the ground up a little bit higher. We can just simply sink that left hip down, opening up into it. Breathing. We could choose to use the blocks and rest our forearms on them. Or maybe you don't need the blocks and you come forearms onto the mat. We can flex our toes up and roll onto the baby toe side if that feels good. And breathe here. And some people prefer this lizard lunge to pigeon pose. So feel free to stay here for the duration. Just hold and breathe. If you're feeling a nice opening into that outer hip on the right side, you want to stay here, you're welcome to. Or we can come up onto our hands. We can heel toe our foot over to the left side of the mat. Flex those toes again and roll onto the baby toe side as you lower the leg down. Lower down. Make sure you're not leaning on that right hip. Drawing that left hip down, or lean on the right hip and swing the left leg forward and come into deer pose, right? Whatever feels best for you. Remembering this foot could come a little closer to the groin as well, if that makes it more accessible to you. And then we just want to find that breath. And if you're not able to breathe, then maybe this isn't your posture today. Find a variation or a different posture that works for you. Plant your hands, curl the back to lunge, step back to downward facing dog, lengthening our spine, and then lower back onto your knees and bow back into your child's pose. Focus on the breath. Notice how you feel. And that was our little hip sequence today. I hope you enjoyed the class. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me and have a great day.